Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. It's going to be a Terran versus Protoss on the map Blueshift, and I'm incredibly excited to get on into it. Spawning up in the top right-hand side of the map, we've got the ever-popular TaeJa, recently returned to pro gaming, and like full-on pro gaming. He's going to be playing tournaments and things like that. So that's very exciting, but his opponent's going to be a tough one. Spawning down the bottom left-hand side of the map, it's going to be Classic. The monster Protoss. Classic, just such a solid Protoss. So we'll see what TaeJa is able to get done versus him. Now, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these two guys are going to sort of, match up versus each other. As far as the builds go, I expect we'll see fairly standard things. Maybe Classic will bring out the aggression. He has a Protoss who does throw out builds like that every now and then, but yeah. We'll see exactly how these two guys will end up clashing. Standard Gateway Expand, Barracks and Gateway on the way, so these guys looks like they both will be going for that Expo build, as there's no proxy barracks out on the map or anything like that. And then Classic just moving across the map with his probe here. Maybe gonna go for that some of that standard harassment. Want to follow the probe, not the rocks there. Now, so probe gonna come on in here, be a bit of a nuisance. SCV has to politely show it to the door, basically say get out of here and don't come back, but Classic, being ever so pesky, gonna hang around with his probe, continuously be a pain. Now TaeJa will be going for that Expo. Classic getting up the Nexus, getting up a Cyber Core, so it is that standard expand build out of both these guys. Classic does scout this out, does have his probe just being a pain, but Reaper's on the way, so that probe will have to go on home. And then we'll see what TaeJa is going to follow this up with, whether it's going to be a mine drop or anything. I feel like I should also say that just to be safe, that this replay, it's listed as Classic on SC2 Unmasked. It was sort of just like an account that hasn't been active for a while, so it might have been an account he hopped on once again. But basically anytime there is a barcode or an account that isn't listed, I generally get it off sc2unmasked.com, which is a fantastic website, by the way. But yeah, so I always want to put an asterisk that there is a chance that this isn't really Classic, but depending on how he plays, it's pretty easy to tell whether it is a good pro gamer or not. Now, Reaper's going to come in here for TaeJa, sent that right across the map, but Adept for Classic is coming on out. It's going to be able to shoo this Reaper away, and then that Reaper does have to jump on out. So TaeJa not getting any probes or anything with this Reaper, which is very nice for Classic. Actually, got to be very careful with that. Reaper's going to dive on into the main base. The Adept will shade on top of it, but takes 3 shots for an Adept to kill a Reaper. Oh, and it almost gets it there. We saw the Adept sort of make his little hand gesture, followed by that Frisbee usually, but no, that Reaper managed to get out. TaeJa, we'll see if he's able to get in for a scout later on. Now, Classic did go for a robo, and TaeJa did actually see that, so that's a big deal that he knows that Classic is going for a robo. TaeJa, on the other hand, going for a reactoring out these Marines, getting up a starport, getting up a factory. We'll see. This looks like he could be swapping this starport over to the factory, and he will be, so it's possible that this is going to be a Raven or a Banshee. I think it will probably be a Banshee. They're a bit more common in TvP these days, but you never know until the player actually commits. Now, Classic, on the other hand, getting up both his gases at his natural, so going to be having a lot of that on the way. And so maybe he'll throw up a robotics bay or something along those lines, and maybe just head straight into Colossus, because this probe is waiting, and it is going to be that robotics bay, so either going to be going into Colossus or Disruptors. TaeJa, on the other hand, going to try and get some damage done with this Banshee, but Classic's looking set up pretty defensively. He's being active with all of his units. The Reaper is going to try and get on in for TaeJa. However, that Adept and a Stalker each get a shot off. Is it going to make it in? Spawning the Robo Bay would be huge, but it's not going to be able to. It sees 1 extra gateway, but that's nothing too significant there. So good defense there by Classic, shutting down the Scout. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty, dare I say, Classic game here, as he's just going for a Forge, a Twilight Council, a Robo, then eventually going to be getting up this 3rd base. So just sort of like a classic standard macro game coming out of the Protoss player. Now we see 3 observers out for Classic. He's actually got 1. Come on, there's 2. All right, yeah, basically 1 at every base, then 1 on TaeJa's side of the map. He's actually spotted this tech lab, so he can see that there's research on it, and he can generally assume there's going to be a Banshee, and he's going to be very ready for this, getting up a shield battery at every base. And now he's going into Disruptor, so he's shutting down what TaeJa is going for, which is always very nice for the Protoss player. But it is a third CC on the way for TaeJa. Classic does know that too, which is very nice for him. And if we look at it, this Banshee, it was shoot away. It didn't get any damage done. But Classic is still on 2 bases. And it looks like he's getting ready to go into a Disruptor Blink, so he may want to put the pressure on TaeJa right now, and we'll see what TaeJa's able to do. Classic does look like he'll eventually expand, but TaeJa does have the faster expo this game, which means he'll be a little bit more vulnerable. And I mean, he's got up a tank, he's getting into stim, getting up his 3 racks and everything else, but we'll see what he's able to get done. Now, these 2 Banshees are out on the map for TaeJa. I mean, he invested into them. He wants to get some damage done, but Classic looking very solid with the defense so far. And I mean, guys, as I'm casting this, Classic's going to be playing in BlizzCon or at the WCS Global Finals pretty soon. TaeJa's coming out here with his Banshees. They're maybe going to get a pylon, but I mean, at this point in the game, 1 pylon not too significant. A nice little pick off there, though, at least getting something done with them. Keeping Classic on his toes, but keeping those Banshees alive is also very important. You can try and get on in with them later. Now, Classic, he is just on this 1 Robo here, getting up +1 Colossus Blink. And then also has the 1 Disruptor out, so gonna be able to gonna have a pretty strong army composition here. We'll see how TaeJa's gonna try and play around it. He's getting up double Medivac production, floating over his 3rd base, so TaeJa is in a pretty good economic position. He's gonna find another pylon here, maybe try and work on it. Blink isn't quite yet done. There is an observer, though. Oh, some stalkers coming around, so TaeJa's Banshees could be caught here, and it looks like they will be. Yeah, 1 of the Banshees goes down, which is a bit of a shame because, I mean, they maybe could have come on in and tried to get a fair few probes later on in the game if they just hung around, but that's always a risk you take, trying to go for aggression in StarCraft 2. Now, what we see right now is TaeJa's moving out. He's got this Bioforce. It's going to be mobile. He'll have +1/+1, but Classic is going to be heading into the stronger army, the Colossus. They're very good versus just bio gateway units. And so TaeJa will have to try and play around this, try and pull Classic out of position. Classic's got his Colossus in position, though. TaeJa will try and find something, but Classic's just sort of steadily macroing up, and this is a very scary kind of Protoss. Someone who's just confident enough in their defense, like Classic is right now. I mean, TaeJa's gotten 2 pylons this game. That's not much else. TaeJa actually focusing on those rocks and not paying attention to his army. Loses a fair bit there, losing like 7 Marines, losing a Medivac and a Marauder. Classic with that Disruptor getting a nice pick off. The Banshee comes on in, but there's only 1, so he couldn't just pop off those probes because of the shield battery. So TaeJa not getting too much damage done. That was a nice Disruptor hit, getting 7 kills there. Very well done by Classic. Whittling down that Terran army is always nice. And he's actually going into another Disruptor, and these could punish TaeJa very hard. Now Classic, he's got 3 Colossus. He's going into a lot more Disruptors. TaeJa getting up an extra starport I like, because eventually you'll need Liberators. That's really the only Terran answer to mass Disruptors, as they sort of force a stalemate. It's either that or pull the Protoss completely out of position, and Classic is just looking so strong right now, not being exposed at all. Look at this. He's even keeping a Colossus in his main base to protect from bio drops. Then he's got his base at his 3rd, warping in a ton of Zealots. So TaeJa's going to have a hard time breaking his opponent right now. He's coming on in with a small squad of Marines, just scouting out, I guess. Going to send the rest of them back. It looks like he's planning a big drop right now, but there is this Colossus. However, it is just that 1 Colossus, 2 Stalkers. I mean, so TaeJa may be able to hit a window here. If he jumps right on top of the Colossus, this could work out for him. The Marauders aren't loading. A lot of mines in here. The shield battery is going to help out tremendously. The rest of the Colossus are coming on in too, and TaeJa not able to focus any of this down. He's trying to get 1 of the Colossus. Looks like he does get 1. Maybe going to settle and try and get a Disruptor as well. Gets a Disruptor, which is very nice. Maybe going to get another one. I mean, even if he loses the full drop, 3 Colossus and a Disruptor, may actually get another Colossus. Gets another there. So 2 Colossus, 2 Disruptors going down in that drop from TaeJa, and I'd say that's fully worth it for the Terran player. I mean, Classic suddenly down to 1 Colossus. He's got 17 Stalkers and a ton of Zealots, but suddenly his high-tech army with that really added the backbone to the army isn't there. So he's just going to try and make something happen with maybe some Archons, maybe some Zealots, and try and push in on TaeJa here. Now we'll see what TaeJa is going to do in this spot. He's planning on moving out right now, but Classic's just coming on in. TaeJa's got a 4th base, but that's not going to get up. TaeJa maybe sniffs this out, but Classic's not going to give him time. He's going to charge right on in. I like that TaeJa's pulling back into his main base, sort of forcing a bit of a base trade right now. He's got Liberators, tanks, and bio here to try and hold on. He wants to get these Liberators set up, which is so important. And he's doing just that. He picks off the 3rd base right now. TaeJa's coming on in. He unpowers the Forges. A massive Zealot Warpin. Not unpowering the Pylon, though, so these Zealots are going to get in. TaeJa's going to be able to kite these back, but there's actually just enough bio to deal with this. But TaeJa forced to lift off his 3rd base. He kept his natural command center alive. He will need to repair that, though, as he's secured in his main base, but a recall goes down from Classic and actually going to pick off this entire army. Classic lost all but one of his Nexus here, but he just took a very nice army trade. However, supply-wise, army supply still in the lead for TaeJa. Classic, he's got a pretty scary army. He's got, TaeJa trying to get the Warp Prism, though, but not quite able to. So we'll see. I mean, this could come down to the final army engagement. The economy, TaeJa got some very nice damage done there. He repaired his natural base, so it's 2 to 3 bases right now, and all of these Liberators are going to be absolutely huge. Now, Classic does have 2-2 on the way. He's got Psystorm. So sitting back may not be the worst thing for him. He's double expanding, so he's planning on getting back into this. His 2-2 is on the way, so we'll see. I mean, TaeJa may try and step out because his army is pretty strong right now, and Classic doesn't have too much AoE. He's got 4 High Templar, which is very important, but compared to all the Disruptors he had, and I mean, he does have 1 Disruptor now, so TaeJa will have to play around this, so the one fight could be very tough for him. But maybe he can force another bit of a base trade situation. I mean, his bio army is looking pretty clumped up right now, but we'll just see what sort of way TaeJa is going to move out right now. I mean, he did a good economic blow. He's floating over his 3rd base, so he's going to have 2 fully mining bases, so the economy is pretty good for him. Now, well, we'll see what he's going to be able to do. He's got 6 Liberators, too. He's moving on in with those. Now, it's really going to come down to the engagement in this game. Now, TaeJa's just got to be very careful, though. I mean, Psystorm, it's definitely the playmaker for Protoss. That and Disruptors. So, Classic, while his army down on supply, it's still looking very strong. He's got a good number of Zealots and Archons. But we'll see. I mean, TaeJa's coming in with a pretty scary push at this point. He scans the army. Liberators are getting set up. Maybe a little bit ahead of himself, but here comes TaeJa. Although, suddenly he's very clumped up. We'll see if any Psystorms get off. These Templar are in Medivacs. TaeJa stimming forward, but it looks like there's just going to be too much for Classic. His army has taken so much damage from the storm, and suddenly TaeJa forced back by this Protoss army. Classic, just with the AoE, getting so much done there, the Disruptor got a nice shot off too. TaeJa gets out with only 1 Medivac. Everything else got chased down by the Stalkers. He's got some reinforcements incoming, but those storms were so brutal there. TaeJa clumped up, not really respecting that. Classic hit a lot of the High Templar in there. Does lose that Medivac now. And suddenly this position not looking the best there. TaeJa floating over his natural. Classic stepping forward, maybe a little bit too ambitious there, but the Protoss army definitely better now at this point. And there's still all this AoE. There's some more High Templar. There's some more Disruptors. So TaeJa in a pretty rough spot. He's got to build some more Medivacs as he lost all of his. I mean, he's on 2 bases and he's going to be pretty well saturated. So his economy is not terrible, but he's got to find a way back into this game. Whereas Classic getting up a 4th base right now, getting out, even going for an Immortal. But yeah, the army, I mean, TaeJa's going to have a tough time versus this as Classic moves in. He's got this 1 Disruptor. Does he have any High Templar? There we are. They are trailing. Now, TaeJa's got to be ready for this. He's got 2 Liberators. But the question is, how is this engagement going to go down? There's a lot of Protoss coming in right now. Classic going for a big warp, and the Disruptors leading the charge. They're ready to just fire off their Novas, and TaeJa's going to have to kite back versus this good pullback there, but actually does eat a Disruptor shot. SCVs are pulled. Liberators firing in. Some more reinforcements coming in for TaeJa right now. He's actually going to be able to rout this army. He's pushing it back, but there's a fantastic Psystorm from Classic. TaeJa actually taps out. GG gets called as a Classic there on 4 bases now. TaeJa not able to get some damage done, and I mean, losing more of his economy. So TaeJa forcing that game into a crazy base trade, but Classic just getting that better engagement. I mean, this game really did come down. If we go back a little bit, it was probably about, say, 3 minutes ago. If we go back to this point, okay, it was actually before here. Going back. Is this it? Okay, it was a little bit after this, but we're gonna get on into this push that TaeJa went for. Okay, so it was around here somewhere. which TaeJa went right down the middle with his entire army. Yeah, so they went for the base trade. And eventually TaeJa goes in to push up down the center here. Just a bit of after analysis, because I mean this fight really was everything this game. Just go here. All right, here comes TaeJa down the center. So this fight was absolutely everything this game. TaeJa comes in, he's got a good Liberator count. I mean, if we look at the army supply, it's definitely in the lead for TaeJa. I mean, there's 14 Stalkers versus 6 Liberators. The main play is right now that Classic has 6 High Templar and a Disruptor. The Liberators come in a little bit too early right now, and then suddenly we see, I mean, the Liberators are getting good damage off. The Disruptor fires out a shot, and here comes the Templar. They land in the Prism. TaeJa is too clumped up, didn't anticipate that, and then there's just so much Psystorm. Sometimes Terran can tank him, and I mean, TaeJa had a bit of his army left, but that last storm or two just really dealt TaeJa in there, and then suddenly Classic just picks off everything in the army supply. TaeJa goes from a nice lead to a deficit, just in overall supply. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this game, it's always a treat to see TaeJa play, and I mean, he maybe could have had that game. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to leave a like. If you do enjoy more content, feel free to leave a subscription. Otherwise, I shall see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.